Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so let's talk Lakers, let's talk NBA. Let's get this rumor out of the way early. I don't know if this don't have nothing to do with the Lakers, but it's such an egregious rumor that I want to throw it out there before I get into everything about my team. So let's roll. Seems like the Houston Rockets want to pay Fred VanVleet a point guard when they already got Porter on tab. They already got Amen Thompson on tab. They already got Ty Washington. They drafted in the first round last year. Christopher and all these guys we always talk about. They got plenty of guards. They got plenty of everything. They don't need nothing. However, they're not wise enough to understand this, and they're talking about giving away exorbitant amount of money to slumping point guards when they just drafted one. So that's what I want people to know. They are talking about giving him a 2-year, $83 million contract to Fred VanVleet. If ever there was anything that was ill-advised, it was that. The other thing that, if ever there was anything else that was ill-advised, is bringing in James Harden. Houston, you don't have to do anything, fam. You don't have to do nothing. Just extend qualifying extensions to the kids you got. That's all you need to be doing with your cap space. You got the ability to keep a young team together for 15 years, and you're trying everything you can to go after names that aren't even playing well. Fred VanVleet and James Harden ain't even playing well, and you want to give them over the cap money? Why are you trying to tank your franchise, Tillman? Just sell the team, bro. Okay? You got one of the most incredible young asset classes the game has ever had. And you're trying to give your money away to dudes that have been in the league for 10 years, 9 years, slumping. Fam, sell the team. Because what you're about to do is everything wrong. And what you got going on is everything right before doing so. Do not let this happen, Houston. Do something, Houston. City of Houston, if y'all serious about your team, do something, boy. Because I'm telling you right now, if you don't, Tillman Fertitta is about to tank y'all, and y'all got one of the best asset classes anybody has. Okay, you bring in Fred VanVleet on a 2-year deal worth $40 million a year. I can guarantee you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have problems. No one's gonna want that contract. It's gonna expire in 2 years. Nobody's gonna see that it's something you should want because that's a lot more heavy than some of these contracts that are going around for $30 million. You're talking about like $40+ million for a point guard who's coming off a bad year. Like that is something I don't believe. But I figured I'd throw it into this content so I can react to it early. You guys know I'm high on Fred VanVleet. It's not like I don't want him in the league or something like that. But at $40 million a year, when you already got a point guard, 2 of them, that right there just speaks to what's wrong in Houston. It's a lot wrong. That's all I got to say. It's a lot wrong there. But anyway, so that we can get out the way. Now, the Lakers, we're trying to re-sign everybody. And I'm cool with it. I think that's a very good thing. You can justify it because we were successful. We got to the Western Conference Finals. It does keep us under the tax apron, and that's really all you need. That's all you really need to go into this season feeling good. Now, for me as a fan, I don't particularly like the old nature of our core. Blah blah blah. All of that is great, but at the end of the day, what you're trying to do if you're the Lakers is just bring back some sense of the same young team that you've had, because that's the problem that we've had, not being able to bring back, whether it be successful or failure. We can't seem to bring the same core back around AD and Bron, the same core kids. We always just picking and plugging a point guard, picking and plugging a small forward, sometimes without a center. It's just certain things that you don't have to have happen anymore. And we got a nice asset class full of role-playing young players that we really like, high-level role players at that. I don't know that any of them are superstar kids, but I don't think you need them to be. You just need them to play their role. You don't need to necessarily be chief so long as LeBron and AD are in place. So that's what I like. I was listening to Locked On Lakers, and they brought on a guy who follows the Indiana Hoosiers very closely and covers them. And he was essentially saying that Jalen Hood-Schifino was just getting better every game. And by the time the season ended, they were extremely sad the season had ended because they knew that he was going to go on to the NBA. So that's very encouraging. I've heard good things about him as it pertains to him being a dog, being aggressive and tough. So that's extremely exciting. And then hearing him say that just further doubles down on the positive, which is what I need to hear in regards to Jalen Hood-Schifino. It's positive. So him progressing a little bit every single game or getting better as the season progresses, coming through in the clutch and ultimately just showing up when his number is called very, very frequently is something that is a reigning praise for his name. So I'm very excited about what that is and what that means for us. Also, just following Laker Nation, Trevor Lane just gave us all the information. I encourage everybody to go check out his content. The information that I have is pretty much just echoing what he's already said. We got Everybody coming back more or less, but we're not really sure what we're going to do with Mo Bamba and Malik Beasley. And we talked about that this morning. If we sign them at those prices, are they actually assets? Will we be able to retrade them if we need to? The thing about Mo Bamba, I was just giving it some conversation in my head, just thinking about it as I was putting my food together here. Mo Bamba is a player I believe is probably going to be a $10 million a year player, but he may not be there today. Now, whether or not I believe he can play up to that is not necessarily what it's not what I'm paying for if I'm Jeanie Buss. I'm paying for the window between where I'm paying him, which is above what he's supposed to be, and the possibility of him dipping well below what it is that we would actually like to pay him. So let's say I think Mo Bamba's a $3 million guy. Because of the injury history and because of what I've seen from him from the Lakers, which is him play one game, more or less 2 games, and get injured in the second one after not being played by the coach when healthy. All the fans wanted him to play, but coach didn't believe that his piece was for him at that time or period. That means that if I bring him back to that same coach, even if he's 100% healthy and ready to go, there's a chance the coach won't play him, and thus he's going to be worth less than what it is he's supposed to be worth in general, let alone the $10 million that I know he's not supposed to be getting. That he's definitely going to opt into, just like everybody else right now who's opting into stuff they ain't supposed to be having. So that's what he's likely to do unless the Lakers promise to imagine his contract and re-sign him in a way that gives him probably more years. That's what a player like that should want. If you're going to make me take a pay cut, if I'm gonna go down from 110, I'm going to need you to spread that out to 2-8 or something like that. 2 years, $8 million. That's what I would want if I'm Mo Bamba. Just add some years to it. We can shave off $2 million if it make you feel better, but turn that into a second year player option rather than just a 1 year deal. That's the kind of thing I would want if I'm Mo Bamba. That way I'm on $4 million a year. I got 2 years, and I got an option for myself. That way it'll make up the difference in the millions of dollars. $2 million, $1.5 million, shave off a little more, whatever. I don't know, but that's the kind of compromise I hope Mo Bamba will be willing to do, because I can't do 1 year, $10 million for you. But I can make it so that you end up with $10 million in the end. You know what I mean? And that is a better deal for me. I don't know if that's a better deal for him. I don't know if that's how he would see it. But for a guy that has injury issues, security in this league is probably a bit better. Because at least with that second year, regardless of the money he's getting that year, that could be the year he proves he's a $20 million a year guy. That could be the year he proves he's a $10 million a year guy. If he kicks the $10 million right now and has another injury season, he may not even have a role in the NBA after that season. He might not even be able to be in the league, depending on how bad that goes. And the best case scenario is he'll be on a situation like Vando, where you play up your value but still kind of have to play that second year at that same value. That's worst case scenario for him, and that's security for him to continue to build upon that year. So one could argue Vando probably worth a little more than $4 million, even though I don't think we played him up to $4 million. You probably feel a lot better on Vando on a contract at 110 than you do Bamba on 110, because at least you know Vando with the history has been able to be on the floor for that. So that's where it really is a thing for me. It's just like, if Bamba at 110, 1 year, $10 million is something I'm not doing. I'm not doing that. But looking at the center market, when you look at what Vucevic just got, and this is me reporting it, they just brought this out that he's going to be doing 3 years, 60, I believe it is, $20 million a year for Vucevic. So Vucevic is an all-star center. I don't think you should be comparing his value to Mo Bamba's, but it is setting the tone for the center market. And I think Mo Bamba having to opt in at $10 million, he could feel pretty optimistic that he'll probably get more than what he's supposed to get if he were paid the way he's supposed to be paid. Whatever that would be, $2 million, $3 million. He probably expect to get a little more than what is expected. Not anywhere near 10 for 1 year though. So that's what it comes down to. If I were Mo Bamba, I'd be like, look, I know I'm not a $10 million a year guy, but I do have this option, and I could stranglehold you to it as to what you can either trade me somewhere else who ain't gonna be happy with it, or we could restructure this situation. I'm your really only viable center next to Anthony Davis. Castleton ain't gonna be ready for a year or two. So why don't you guys just bring me back for those year or two at that $4 million a year price or $3 million a year price or whatever it would be on the shave, and let's get them 2 years going. That's the best way to play it. for all parties involved. If I'm Bamba, yeah, let's do that. Give me the security of the second year, split that money into a different increment thing, shave it off so it makes more sense for what it is I'm gonna bring to the table, and that will make it so that everybody can have what they need, I believe. Unless there's some stipulations in that, which I can't imagine there would be. In this collective bargaining agreement, you never know, but it shouldn't be. If I want to turn a guy with a player option into a 2-year guy with for a little bit less than what that would otherwise be in half, that should not be a problem, and it should work for all teams that would want to do something like that. Definitely. So that's what I want to say. Hopefully that should be possible. Also, D'Angelo Russell, it's been said the Lakers are now officially interested in re-signing just about everybody. D'Angelo Russell, Lonnie Walker, of course, Austin and Rui been offered qualifying offers. And now they're trying to figure out, as we said, Bamba and Beasley. So that'll let you know a little more of what the Lakers got going on. Lonnie is expected to be retained, and I'm very happy about that. I don't know how Lonnie feels about being a Laker, given the fact that he was benched a good portion of the season last year when we thought very much so that he was a good rotational piece for us. Once again, Darvin doing his thing. But at the end of the year, we were able to see Darvin put him in the game against, I believe it was the Golden State Warriors, Game 5 or something like that. It might have been like Game 4. Lonnie Walker the fourth, Game 4. And that was the Lonnie game that ultimately solidified his role in this on this team from here on out. Now, whether or not coach is going to see him as somebody he wants to play throughout the course of the season, when we got different types of guards that we can also bring in, I don't know. But for me, bringing Lonnie back at a price that we like is a no-brainer. 24 years old, jumps out the gym, puts pressure on the rim. We have problems with that. Keep Lonnie Walker. I'd like to see him on this team. As Trevor Lane said, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, he should probably still be on the team because he's never going to be too expensive. And we never really have our shooting guard role solidified. Never. We're always floating around somebody that usually can play the 3 or shooting out a player and bringing somebody else in. Of course, we did that. Malik Monk, let him go. Caruso, let him go. So for me, I'm very pleased about the idea of keeping Lonnie Walker. Not that I think he's going to ascend it to a starter. Don't think so. He's a career backup for us. But that's a good thing. We want these role players. We need these role players. If you've ever watched a championship team have any success, you know of the key role players that are often there. It ain't always about the stars. You need your Robert Horrys, you need your Rick Fox, you need your Derek Fishers. And I think that's what the Lakers are trying to establish with this particular draft and what we just did in the last trade last season. We're trying to bring us all of those type of guys so that when we do go for that championship, them roles are jam-packed with guys that know themselves, that know our league, know our team rather, and our culture. So I like what we're doing there. Of course, I'm excited about Max Christie. Saw some more footage of him in the G League, tearing it up. He's getting to the rack, and that's what we were interested in. He criticized himself last year, saying he wasn't quite as strong as he'd like to be to get to the rack. He was going to put in the work and start dunking on people. The footage is there. He's been dunking on people. So to say I'm excited about this kid, I think the jump he's going to make could be really ridiculous. The kid, depending on what type of role we give him, I think his game is pretty much complete as it pertains to what you want to see from your wing, from your shooting guard. He can shoot, obviously. He can defend, obviously. He looks to rebound the ball, and if you follow me, that's obvious too. That was the first thing I noticed about this kid. So now we got to find out if he can play make. My biggest criticism of him is just careless turnovers, stupid turnovers. If I can be honest with you, some of the turnovers he had just were like nervous turnovers, which came from not playing very much in the pros as a rookie, second round draft pick. But other than that, I mean, his mechanics are refined. His work ethic is there. You can see it. And the kid has high character, extremely intelligent, very, very good on TV. And so I just think the world of Max Christie, and I'm ready for his career to get started right now with the Lakers. And I would be very upset if the Lakers involved him in any trade of any kind, regardless of what we're bringing back. I just don't know the upside of a player like that, and I think it's wise not to let him go. So that's what I want to see. I want to see Max Christie getting plenty of minutes next year, all season long. And hopefully he can play his way up into a real role like Austin did. Because that's exactly what I think his upside basically is. Something like that in a different way. But, yeah, would not be surprised if Max Christie turns into somebody really good in this league. So I'm just telling people that now. And I'm super excited about all of the young people that we're bringing in. The whole team is looking fantastic in its own way. D'Angelo Russell coming back. The only reason why I would even poo-poo is because of what I just saw in the playoffs. I still believe in his jump shot. I still believe in his abilities. I just don't know where his soul and his head is in regards to giving it his all on the basketball court. just not sure I saw the fire in him that's going to get me where I'm going. And now that we have Jalen Hood-Schifino in place, I don't know that D'Angelo Russell's piece is as important anymore. So it may be in the short term, but definitely not in the long. So that's what we're considering when signing him. Make sure that contract ain't long. 2 years, 25 mil, 20 mil, probably solid. 30 is pushing it, but only solid if you can trade it. Because there are plenty of guys out there in them $30 million contracts that we would like to trade for. So that's why you do that. But bringing him back at $30 million a year, I think we all agree that's not necessarily a price tag we want him on, and probably not the price tag the team we're trading him to wants him on either. So we got to be certain what we're doing there. And if we are retaining him, I don't really know if you want him at $30 million a year at all, not even for half a season. Because my thing is, if he gets hurt, you can't retrade him. And you talk about Bamba being on a contract you don't like and Beasley being on a contract you don't like. If D'Angelo Russell's on $30 million contract not playing, we're tanked. We're not winning nothing. I'm just telling y'all right now. Not winning a damn thing. So that needs to not happen. Also, talking about bringing back Dennis Schroeder. That was another name, of course. I said just about everybody. DS is definitely mentioned in that conversation. I don't know what he's going to want. Obviously, he's been trying to get, we've talked about this for years. 3 years now, basically, with him. Missed the situation with the Lakers initially. Had a big contract on the tab. Didn't sign it. Bet on himself. That was not what was best for the market at the time. He ended up floating around from Houston, Boston. None of those teams could put him in a position to really be showcased. Came back to the Lakers, had a pretty solid season. Really, really stepped up and played well for us. But unfortunately, we don't have the money to give him to make him happy either. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, yeah, you're impressed, but now we have you solidified as a role-playing backup. So the path to him getting the type of money that he's looking for is just not there. But I think he still has played himself up enough to continue to stay in this league. And for what that's worth, I think it means a lot, because at the end of the day, I look at Dennis Schroeder as a guy who I can still trade, especially if I sign him to a affordable contract. He's still a very serviceable guard on both sides of the floor. And with the Sixth Man of the Year trophy that he won several years back, that really looks good on his resume. So for me, I understand Dennis Schroeder's situation. He just didn't bet on himself properly. And I'm obviously, as a Laker fan, we're happy he didn't take that much of our cap, to say the least. But nevertheless, the path to him getting what it is he's looking for may not be there. So maybe what he'll have to settle for is multiple years. And that is not something I'm down on, because I think of him as a very high-level 31-year-old role player that's not going to cost too much. See how all that fluctuates in such a way that makes me comfortable? He's not a superstar, so it's not like I'm counting on him to do too much. He's not too old. He's not in his late 30s to where I'm looking at him like, nah, we can't do this anymore. He's a guy who rolled his ankle and came back and played in the game that he was in and didn't even miss much of any time after that. I think he missed the game like 10 games after rolling his ankle. It's one of those type of situations where it's like he's durable. And for a schedule like 82 games plus playoffs, team that has to, trek around into altitude to try to win, you want guys that are capable of enduring more than maybe the average. And we were the Lakers, so we grew up on Kobe. We want guys to be able to handle pain and that kind of thing. So with the fragility of the core that we have, it would stand the reason why you want a role player who has bionic ankles. So for me, with him at like a $3 million, $5 million deal, that makes me comfortable. Thing about it is, if we start giving him too much per year, we don't feel as good about that, just like we don't feel about others the same in that way. So you want to respect him, maybe give him a couple years, but I don't think we should pay him more than like $4 million a year. $4 million a year, 2 year, $8 million for Dennis Schroeder makes me feel pretty confident. That's hefty. That's hefty for your backup to your backup. But I think that's kind of what we're looking at there. Maybe a mid-level exception, which would be about $5 million. And for me, it's like, looking at Dennis Schroeder's role last year, before we got Jalen Hood-Schifino, it was more important that we had him on $5 million deal. This year, with Jalen in place, with us bringing back D'Lo, depending on if we trade D'Lo or not, which we definitely should be. But even if we trade D'Lo, we're likely going to get a guard back in that trade, because there's a number of guards in this league, so you're likely going to get one. Depending on if that guard is what you were looking for, you probably don't need Dennis Schroeder as much as you did until injury hits, and then you'll need him. He's the type of guy who doesn't play as well off the bench for us, even though he's won a Sixth Man of the Year We saw it last year that he was probably better when he started. He was better when he's featured. He's better when people are hurt and he can get the ball more. There were times where he would disappear in the offense completely. Like it just no attempted shots, nothing going on. Those are the games that make you understand why you need to pull back on the per year dollar amount. Because if he's not going to do as much from the role that you have him in, then he's going to be taken away from what it is you can also build. So for me, the lower the amount is probably going to make me the happiest. But for what Dennis Schroeder's been trying to accomplish over the last 3 years in this league, it would also be nice to see him get some type of payday. So maybe that's not with us, but from what I understand, they are interested in retaining him, and we hope for the best for all parties involved. So that's what I got to say about Dennis Schroeder. That situation is just kind of sad, to be honest with you. There's a lot of money on the table for him. But nevertheless, we're happy he's with the Lakers, and hopefully we can get a championship to key it all off in a positive way. What else, man? That is where we're at. Malik Beasley, I guess, is the conversation there. $16 million. I think it's a no-brainer that you try to get off from under that at all cost. It's a no-brainer. Even if he was playing up to par, you still don't want to pay him $16 million for this contract. Absolutely not. So, as I said this morning, if we allow that to be a part of our books, are we certain that anybody actually wants that? And if not, do we still need his piece? Because if we don't need his piece, then obviously there's nothing left to say. You know what I mean? You got to let him walk. Now, if we can trade him, then of course you don't have a problem having him opt into 16, matching him with Bamba or somebody else, and then shipping out him for something you want. That's always something we're talking about, but I just don't know how realistic it is when you start really getting into the negotiation table with those two pieces, thinking you're getting something. And we can talk about it all day, but if I call the Indiana Pacers and offer them those two assets, I'm probably not getting nothing I want. You see what I'm saying? So that's really what it comes down to. We can chatter about what they would be worth to us, but if we were to take them back, what would we be willing to give up? And the answer is probably nothing. Probably not a damn thing. Bamba at 10 and Beasley at 16, I'm not giving you 5 flakes out of my box. You know what I'm saying? You ain't even getting a full bowl. So for me, it's like, I'll tell you what. How about we assess fully what cons, negative things, come with letting them walk and keeping the cap space and offering it somewhere else. Because at the end of the day, if my math is correct, that's $26 million to players that we don't want to give that to. That's $26 million you can give to an entirely different fleet of players. Guys are being overpaid. That's the problem. So when you get a free agent in, one guy going to want all of that, and he ain't going to be worth half of that in some cases. That's just what's coming. Brook Lopez going to want the whole thing. No. So that's where it gets tricky. You know, if you're going to let those guys go and you're only going to be bringing in Jackson Hayes and trading for Garrett Temple or something like that, trust you me, you do better taking these guys even at that price. That's the problem. There's no guarantee that Malik Beasley don't have a fantastic year. We saw who he was when he first got here. He was winning games for us, hitting 9 and 10 threes, making us impossible to beat. Now, I don't expect him to be able to do that in the system because at the end of the day, he can't guard anybody. And because of it, and he's undersized. So he was part of them small ball lineups, Darvin Ham bullcrap. That's why he probably should be gone because at the end of the day, you don't want any small guards not named Dennis Schroeder. That's basically what it comes down to. That's it. We want to disarm Darvin Ham from any of that small ball bullcrap. And so you got to get him off the team. I would prefer us getting Dennis Schroeder off the team for that reason too, to be honest with you. I really would. Because that has been the problem the whole time since the coach got here. He wanted to lean on Patrick Beverly, Russell Westbrook, Dennis Schroeder, the majority of the guard minutes. And we just were a bad team. And he ain't really snap out of that at all. And we know it. So if anything, we just got to keep these guards under 6'5", far away from the team. I hate to say it, but that's what it comes down to. Dennis Schroeder's the only one I'd be willing to bring back is because he's been so sturdy for us both tenures. I liked him the first tenure for the most part. I liked him a lot more this past season. And so, granted, he is aging a little bit. As we said, he's in his 30s. But I still think if I had to shop him at the deadline, I'd probably be pretty comfortable about what I get back, depending on who I shop him to and how mad they need a backup point guard. So that's why I'm cool with that. But again, if we can keep everybody under 6'5", it'll go a long way in making us a better team overall with the coach that we have. So that's what it is, man. If Darvin believed in size, I wouldn't feel as concerned. about bringing us players that are not up to height, but because he don't respect size worth a dang, we got to Rob Pelinka. We need to. So that's what it comes down to. And we also, of course, we said this many times, I'm gonna say it again. If you're gonna bring us a player, make sure he's someone we want to play. He wants to play. If you have Bamba in at $10 million, you know he ain't gonna play him, and that kind of thing. So if you bring in Daniel Gafford or something, if he don't like how he play, he ain't gonna never see him. So I don't want us to not have a center. This has already been said today. But please check with Darvin to make sure that this is somebody who he is most definitely going to play up to value. If not, you're better without the player. Just simply better without him. Let's see. Chris Middleton wants $40 million, I think. Although he might have opted out to make it so that that comes down. So I don't want to bash him for opting out if he's trying to do his team a solid and make sure that his price tag is more so comparable for what it is they're going to be. Because if he takes that whole $40 million, that's egregious. And if he's opting out to look for more, because he left the 40 on the table, which if you're looking at it from a positive perspective as a buck, maybe he's giving it back. But if he's opting out to get more, then he's gonna find out, just like Dennis Schroeder, they ain't gonna be there. This is not gonna be there. So that's what it is, guys. You know, I think Middleton's a little bit smarter than that, so I'm expecting he's going to kind of re-sign for a better deal for the team, or team-friendly deal. That's what I think is going to happen there. But there are some situations around the NBA with teams that are starting to get new players, and I'm just wondering if they're willing to shake loose some of them dudes. James Bouknight, the guard up in Charlotte, I'm making calls to field for him. Kevin Porter Jr. over there in Houston, I'm making calls to field for him. Taylor Hendricks in Utah, I'm making calls to field for him. Because at the end of the day, whether these teams want to admit it or not, Kason Wallace in OKC or one of their other guards, I'm making calls for them. Because some of these teams are log jammed with players they cannot showcase up to value. And whether they're smart enough to know that or not, we need to be, if we're on the other side of the negotiation table, targeting those players. You got to be able to convince them that they're better for trading those guys now before they get them on their team and lose value for not being able to be showcased properly. We've seen too many Marvin Bagleys to not have any objection to what's going on with Taylor Hendricks in Utah. Period. Get him the hell out of their field. Get him the hell out of there. Get Nick Smith out of Charlotte. Nick James Bouknight out of Charlotte. One of them need to get the hell out of there. One of those two players do not need to be in Charlotte. And I'm saying get Davion Mitchell out of Sacramento. That needs to happen. Some of these players are just too damn good to be where they at, man. And there's too many teams that don't have anything that need what they are. You know what I mean? This is the same thing we said earlier, but I'm reiterating it because it is free agency time. And some of these teams, they're just going to hold these players because they know they're really good. You know what I mean? They don't understand the wisdom that I'm speaking to you with in regards to it. But it really good doesn't stay that way when you smash them behind players that are going to be on the floor for 35 minutes a game. It doesn't stay that way. And that's exactly what Taylor Hendricks is in for. It don't even have to go that way. There's still going to be a lot of teams who need exactly what he is. If I'm the Detroit Pistons, go trade for Taylor Hendricks. You should have drafted him any damn way. Go trade for him now. You ain't got nothing going on. Some of the players you got, that stuff is not it. Atlanta, with that trade exception you got, Saddiq Bey, y'all talking about moving forward with Saddiq Bey? I don't think so, man. DeAndre Hunter is a valuable piece, $20 million a year. You can trade him and Saddiq Bey and get you something really good in that pool of young players that we're talking about. Make your team actually as good as you want to be, not pretend good with those guys eating up half the damn cap. No, not good enough. These type of things that need to happen, man, because I'm looking all around the league and I'm saying, man, none of this has to be the case. This team needs that player. That player needs to be on this team over here. All they got to do is swap those two players and they'd be cool. Charlotte don't need all them damn centers. They got too many centers. You got Dallas, got Lively. They need another center, it seems to me, although they got Rashawn Holmes that kind of took care of that. But it's so many different opportunities for some of these teams to get what they want. And then you got Tillman Fertitta trying to throw $50 million at Fred VanVleet. Like, no, man. No, none of this is right. All of it's wrong. We need some adults to walk into the room and help these teams develop properly for their future. And then we'll have a really good league. But if this continues the way it's going, we're going to have some bad teams, man. Players not getting off to good starts, bust, injury issues in situations where players are doing too much while they need teammates that are in logjam situations. None of that is any good. All of it looks trash to me. It's time for some changes there. So that's what I got to say, man. That's my thought right now. Just don't like some of the stuff that I'm seeing. And I know damn well a team like Golden State needs a center, and Detroit got like 2 centers of the future. You're not going to do nothing with. Golden State literally gave them one of those centers, by the way. But again, this is what we're talking about. Yeah, it's too much of that going on. I think Keldon Johnson's another guy who probably needs to get the hell out of San Antonio. It's time. He helped them tank. He's on a contract that's bigger than their timeline. They got other forwards in place that they like a lot. They just drafted Sissoko along with Wemby. You got Malachi Branham, whose upside is crazy great. Maybe higher than I think he's better than Keldon Johnson. Probably is. So it's like, is Keldon's spot solidified? You got Sohan. He's also going to be a star at some point. Dennis Rodman type, maybe even a little better in some ways, believe it or not. So it's like, if San Antonio is serious, you got Trey Jones as your point guard, and he looks like he's going to be really good going forward. I just don't know where Keldon Johnson fits in with his contract. They're not going to get the most out of that contract. He's a very good wing that can rebound the ball, defend some, shoot the ball a little bit. He should be out of there. Young, you know what I mean? He's a young player. Team like Milwaukee, they could totally use a Keldon Johnson. Team like Clippers on the rebuild, when they get rid of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, that's definitely a guy they can bring in. Anybody with a wing, anybody with rebounding needs, anybody with athleticism and length needs, Keldon Johnson's right there. So that's something that needs to happen. Get him the hell out of there. Where else? It's all over the league, man. I'm telling you, it's all over the league. You see these type of log jams. Teams got all these different players playing the same dang position. Can't get these players to situations where they fit in. Meanwhile, you could see their fit on another team with a dumb owner doing something you ain't got no business doing, like in Phoenix. All them players fit in Phoenix right now. Taylor Hendricks fit in Phoenix. Book Knight fit in Phoenix. Everybody that I mentioned needs to be in Phoenix right now. But because they mortgage their future for 3 guys, Minnesota, same thing. All that talent should be in Minnesota playing with Anthony Edwards. But it's not. It's definitely not. Because these owners do stuff that ultimately give all of their young talent to teams that already have young talent, and here we are with this nonsense. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. OKC and all these teams, you got the Phoenix going on, and you got the OKC stuff going on, and you got 2 clusters of 3-4 clusters of that nonsense eating up basically half of the league. Teams that got too much and teams that got too little. And then we'll talk about, so-and-so is the greatest player of all time. With the field looking like this, man, stop playing with me. Give me a real field, then tell me how good these champions are who are winning in this era. With all due respect. So that's what I got to say, man. Hopefully I'm putting forth the idea that a lot of what it is that we're seeing can be improved upon. A lot of how we evaluate talent, older guys, vets, and how much they're supposed to be getting paid of the cap. Hopefully we're putting forth the seed and understanding of why those guys never deliver. They don't deliver because of stuff like this around them. A lot of times they have a lot to do with by taking how much they do in their representation, encouraging them to take so much from the cap and leaving them without the dream, as we call it, which is a championship team. So that's where my head goes, man. I just want to see teams get it right. And I'm happy that my team is looking like they're making good decisions in that way. And so that's what I got to say, man. Hopefully teams like OKC and Houston can see the fruit of what I'm talking about. Charlotte, all you teams that have log jams, see the fruit of what I'm talking about and do something right for these kids, man. Do something right for these young players so they don't turn into bus on you. Because that's exactly what they're about to turn into if you keep them getting overlapped over and over and over again. Or you draft these young guys that got superstar talent and then you want to bring in a guy with a name and give him way more than he's supposed to get, only to complain about it a year and a half from now when you're trying to get rid of him. I'm sick of it. I'm really sick of it. BDO44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.